At the Altigia Academy of Magic, Alto must summon and form a contract with a familiar, or else he'll be held back a grade. He's a studious student that has done well in all of his subjects, but had failed the summoning spell before, with his teacher giving him until tomorrow at the end of the faculty meeting to make a familiar. In the hallway, his childhood best friend, Lilia Kudofate, runs in to check on him to see how he did, saddened to learn that he failed again, offering to give the professor a piece of her mind, while angrily swinging around a rock she found, with her doing this often. With nothing more that she can do, she leaves Alto to go study in the library by himself. Inside, he finds an old book that falls on top of his head, with him seeing that it may have a summoning spell inside of it. The spell inside the book summons a naked demon woman, named Vermil. She introduces herself, to then say that he can summon her as much as Alto wants to, with her willing to do anything. Alto is losing his cool by hearing this, asking her to please get dressed, making her rather disappointed, calling him a strange creature since that's where he wants to go with this. She kisses him and drains some of his mana, saying that she's willing to serve him out of gratitude for summoning her, breaking her out of her imprisonment. She then attempts to get him going, but he refuses. With him not having much for her to wear, he makes her wear his little sister's dress and shoes, with him accidentally bringing it along to the campus. When he presents her as his familiar to the class, she's made to conceal her horns and tail so that she can pass as a human. The professor assumes that he brought back a worker of the night, not thinking he would be so desperate to pass the class, but he then inspects her familiar Mark, accepting Vermil as Alto's familiar. In class, instead of sitting next to the boy, Vermil sits on top of his lap, with this disturbing the rest of the class. When she hears a complaint about this, she points out how other familiars are sitting on top of their master's head, with her now being allowed to continue what she was doing. Alto's childhood friend, Lilia, becomes rather jealous of the woman, but she's punished for her outburst, with the professor deeming that she's disturbing the class. After class, Lilia challenges them to a duel. If she wins, Vermil will stay far away from Alto, and if he wins, she will obey one command he has for her, with Lilia showing just how down bad she is for the boy, with the duel being a win-win situation in her eyes. Lilia's familiar, Stephid, unleashes a powerful wind attack, but Vermil effortlessly blocks it. Then she uses magic to make Lilia so intoxicated that she forfeits. With the whole student body hearing her, Alto orders Lilia to be friends with Vermil. Later, Vermil tells Alto that Lilia is in love with him, but he doesn't believe her. She kisses him, draining his mana again, saying she needs it or else she'll disappear. Normally humans wouldn't be able to summon her, or they would overload their body and explode. She says they could have other relations to give her even more mana, and then she tries to convince him to do so. He then stops her, saying kissing will suffice. The next morning, the male students comment on how stacked Vermil is, making her a rather local celebrity, much to the disappointment of the timid boy, Alto, who doesn't want to stand out in any way. Vermil shocks everyone by knocking out a rampaging dragon and sending him off into the horizon with just a simple flick of her finger. Alto scolds her for drawing attention to herself. At this very moment, teenage boys are locking eyes until Vermilion's chest to stare directly at her melons. Alto recognizes this, distraughting at the amount of attention Vermil is causing, but Vermil doesn't notice this. The dragon's owner and his big brother, Rex, threatens them with Rex's dinosaur familiar. None of the main characters are taking them rather serious at all, with Alto actually sneaking up behind them, they then cover them in ice. Rex is angered by this, breaking free. Lilia scolds them for using their familiar for a battle, asking should an upperclassman set a better example for their underclassmen, but Rex doesn't care, telling them if they don't want to get hurt. Vermil needs to show them just how sorry she is, with him not liking her personality, but finding her body to be just his type. Alto steps in, ready to defend Vermil, with his throwing her off guard, but liking it. As they're being attacked, he starts to get afraid, but Vermil comforts him, supercharging Alto's mana, allowing him to defeat them with his crystal magic. Since they lost the duel, they apologize, with his jump-starting Lilia's bravado, making it act as if she's the one that defeated them. That night, Vermil jokingly has a conversation with Alto to know what his goals are, saying if it's money, that she can steal all the money in the world for him. Alto begs her not to do anything illegal, with him then saying that his dream is to be a splendid mage, explaining magecraft in this modern-day world, and how they're all put into tiers, with the lowest being bronze and the highest being platinum. Wanting to simply be the best mage, Vermil gives her approval, expecting such a feat for her master, making her own promise, saying that she'll make his dream come true, to then getting undressed, saying that she needs to refill up on mana, reminding him that doesn't he want to be an incredible mage. The next day, Vermil is smiling ear to ear, with her getting her way again, while Alto has the look of shame. The three main characters meet up with their friends, Marks and Cheryl, and then they head off to the headmaster's office, who's called them in for a challenge, saying whoever can retrieve the fairy flower from the forest will be the next class representative. With Marks not included in this competition due to his poor grades, but still coming along to feel a part of the mission. Marks is knocked out by a man-eating plant, forcing Cheryl to tend to him, making the others go find the flower. They're being guarded by Cerberus, who's having a cold, so Lilia drinks an invisibility potion. However, her clothes are not affected by it, forcing her to discard them, feeling embarrassed that Alto is staring at her while she's doing so, to then making the boy turn away. One of the Cerberus heads was not sick like the others, allowing it to detect her, but before this, Vermeil tackles Alto to the ground, so that she can get some more mana. After they're done, Alto and Vermeil knock out the Cerberus. Vermeil uses a Dark Skull finishing move, allowing Lilia to go climb up the mountain to get the flower, with her doing so with one hand. Impressive. When she makes it back down, she decides to hand over the flower to Alto, seeing that she couldn't have done it without him. But as she's doing so, the invisibility potion is wearing off. In her embarrassment, she drops the flower, and it blows off into this anime wind, with it able to land into Cheryl's hands, with the maid winning the competition, being the first time that a blue-haired girl has won. Being the class rep, Vermeil's being allowed to enjoy some modern food for the first time, with her being sealed away for more than 100 years. Here she can walk around like normal, with no one coming up to her to bother her. Demons are still feared, but not as hated as much. The demon riders pass by, and everyone admires their members, especially the captain, that being Chris. When the two of them go back on their date, Vermeil offers to share her strawberry crepe with them. Later at PE, Alto comments on how the student council president is close to earning platinum, with this being the highest rank. Vermeil reminds him that she promised to make him stronger, putting 2 volleyballs on his face. This ends up starting a fight. Cheryl encourages Lilia to confess her feelings to Alto before it's too late. While doing so, they learn that the maid is stacked as well, but this makes Lilia wonder, how can a human have so much incredible power? But on the subject of Vermeil, she wonders where the vixen is at, with Vermeil causing a scene by following Alto back to the boy's locker room and inspecting his body. In the hallway, she explains that she tried to change there, but she was told not to, so she went to go to the changing room. Lilia blushes, saying that's the boys' changing room, with Vermeil not seeing the problem still. As they're walking, a large crowd of students starts to form, as they're all talking in amazement about the student council, with them walking towards them, with Vermeil and Chris having a stare down. Later on, Vermeil enters Alto's shower, attempting to go another round with him. In the lair of the Dragon Club, Chris beats up Rex for losing a duel to an underclassman without him having the help of his familiar. When Rex doesn't lick her boot clean, she expels him from the club for both losing to Alto and because his familiar is a dinosaur and not a dragon. In the school nurse's office, Rex and his brother explain what happened to him. When Alto learns what happened, he angrily challenges Chris to a duel. She accepts and they go to the battle arena, to then calling out her familiar, that being a dragon. Vermeil supercharges Alto's mana, much to Lilia's anger because they have to kiss. But Chris fires a spell. Chris starts to use her fire magic, with it being powerful enough to shatter Alto's crystals. With him having no other way to shield himself, Vermeil gets in the way of it to block it. Vermeil is having to shield Alto with her body. She says that she's fine, but admits that it does hurt, with this happening for a while. Eventually, Alto is able to back Chris off the ledge, using his crystal magic, but Chris simply rises into the sky, being on the back of her dragon. She then begins to boast about how dragons are the ultimate species, saying all their creatures are below them, including dinosaurs, calling them all inferior. Alto asks, why does she constantly look down on people? This makes Chris laugh, saying all the insects that can't fly are beneath her, with the girl having a superiority complex. Determined to prove her wrong, Vermeil tells him to save all his mana for one final attack. As he's doing so, she's shielding him the entire time, buying him as much time as possible so she can supercharge Alto's mana. Alto then constructs a huge crystal, and Chris fires back, with the two opposing philosophies facing off for the final time. This is where we're gonna leave off in today's video. If you liked today's video, here's another one just like it, so go check it out. I will be breaking down this anime into multiple parts. Now if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and why not subscribe to the channel? I'll be uploading daily videos just like this one, so I'll see you next time.